Okay, I are co-teaching this book by Shyla Catherine on Beyond Distraction, which is basically looking at the middle length sayings of the Buddha, Majjhima Nikaya number 20, which are the 5 ways that the Buddha taught us how to let go of thinking. And so we've covered the first 2 methods, and tonight we're on to strategy number 3. So just a quick review here. So the reason we want to let go of thoughts is when we're doing our meditation practice, we're trying to still our mind to get into a very quiet state, hopefully eventually into the jhana states, which gives us the clearest mindfulness that is possible. And then when you come out of those states, then you can really look at reality and see it clearly. And that's and gain the insights that lead to awakening or enlightenment. So this is what this is all about. Now, we don't have to use these strategies for every single thought that comes up. I think if we did that, we'd never be with our meditation object. We'd just be dealing with thoughts continuously. So the first kind of thought is just this sort of quiet murmuring in the background. Say if you're watching your breath, you're able to be with the breath, you're able to feel it coming and going, but you're just sort of aware of this murmuring in the background. So if that's the case, just let things be. Attend to your breath and don't worry about that murmuring. The next kind of thought is the thought that sort of pulls you away temporarily from your meditation object, but you quickly notice it and you come back to your meditation object. So we don't have to worry about investigating those kinds of thoughts either. So what these strategies are really meant for is when a thought sort of grabs you and then just really obsesses the mind, and you're trying to sort of get back to your meditation object and you can't, or you're just having a lot of difficulty being with it, then we want to use these strategies. So just to quickly review the strategies, the first strategy is to replace the thoughts that are happening with a wholesome meditation object. So for example, if you're having angry thoughts, you can switch your meditation to metta, to loving friendliness. If you're having sexual fantasies, you can meditate on the 32 parts of the body. If your mind is dull and you're just having trouble fixating on your meditation object, then you can pick an object that's coarser. So for example, instead of focusing on the breath at the nostril, which might be quite subtle, you could go to your belly or the rib cage, which is a little easier maybe to follow. So now if you're doing this first strategy of replacing and it's not effective, then you're going to try strategy number 2. And strategy number 2 is looking at the danger or the downsides associated with whatever thinking is going on. And so if you've tried strategy number 1, thoughts are still taking you away from your meditation objects, and then you've tried number 2 and you're still having trouble, then you're going to try number 3. And I'm going to start with the quote from the Buddha in the Majjhima Nikaya 20. And the Buddha says, "Now suppose that meditator is examining the drawbacks of those thoughts, but bad, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, hate, and delusion keep coming up. They should try to forget those thoughts and not pay attention to them." So this is strategy number 3, forgetting the thoughts or not paying attention to them. And then the analogy that the Buddha gives, is if you're seeing something that's upsetting you or causing a lot of desire in you, then you just sort of turn your eyes away and look somewhere else. And I have an example of that happened to me. It was actually before I even met the Dhamma, but I guess I figured out strategy number 3. It was soon after I graduated and starting my first job. And in the afternoon, I worked at a clinic and I had to take the LRT, the rapid transit, to the afternoon location of my work. I've just graduated, new job, so I've got sort of nice new clothes I'm wearing for my new job. And I'm on the LRT, and then, they have these 2 benches that face each other all the way through the train cars. And the fellow sort of sitting on the bench opposite me had his shoes up on the seat, like beside me. So I mentioned this to him, sort of gave a little gentle castigation, like, please, wouldn't you mind taking your feet down, like it'll make people's clothes dirty. Anyway, speaking to the fellow went over like a lead balloon. And at least I was smart enough to know that continuing to speak to him was not going to cause him to stop putting his feet on the seat. But looking at him was just like, I just had a lot of anger, like rising up in me, like, he's making the seat dirty and my nice new clothes. It was see there would get clean, get dirty. And so I just turned my eyes and looked out looked across the aisle and out the window and just fixated on the scenery that was going past, because I just realized just like it wasn't going to do any good to talk to him. Watching him was just really churning up the anger in me, but turning my attention and just sort of looking out the window. So I think that's sort of an example of what the Buddha was talking about. So that's an example of off the cushion, not paying attention to the sign. I think it was last week we were talking about the sign. What do we pay attention to? So don't pay attention to the sign of something that's annoying or is conjuring up a lot of sort of desires in you. But on the cushion with our eyes closed, it's perhaps less often that it's a sign that triggers a thought. Not always. You can still hear a sound or have a body sensation that triggers off thoughts. But I think more often, at least in my practice, the thought just sort of like pops into the mind. There it is. So we can still withdraw our attention from that thought, from that mental entanglement with it. And withdrawing our attention is withdrawing the fuel for that thought to continue. Now, some thoughts may need attention at some point, but like if you've determined that this is my time to sit and meditate, well, like not now is the time to be attending to that thought. So if your mind is obsessed by a thought that has resisted the first 2 strategies, like it probably means that your mind is in no shape to problem solve at this moment. So even though you're feeling there's some kind of urgency to deal with it, if you've tried replacing, you've tried looking at the danger in it, this means it's pretty obsessive thought, and that means that you're not thinking that clearly, and so it's not a good time to be trying to problem solve. What your mind needs is to calm down and relax so that you have a clear perspective. You can have a clear perspective on the issue. Other thoughts that pop up into your mind, they don't need solving. If you have a habit energy of bringing up maybe shameful memories, regrets about past actions, tragedies or traumas from the past, these are past tense, over and done with. And remembering them is just causing you more suffering. There's no need to have them come to the light of day anymore. So this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And Shaila categorizes the ways that we can withdraw our attention to these thoughts into ignoring, avoiding, forgetting, distracting, and then if none of those work, taking a break. So first of all, ignoring. If you're worried about something that you have some control over, then you can use the mantra later. Like you can just sort of say that to yourself, like this is your time that you've set aside to sit on your meditation cushion. And if something's coming up, you can just remind yourself later, like I'll deal with it later. If you're upset by something that's outside of your control, maybe the behavior of other people, whatever, instead of trying to problem solve for them because they probably wouldn't appreciate it anyway, then you can use the mantra, none of my business, not my business. So just try and help you sort of ignore that thought. So that's ignoring. Number 2 is avoiding. And this just means not putting yourself in situations where you know you're going to get triggered. So this is referring to daily life off the cushion. So for me, one of the things I did was I stopped listening to the news. I used to be more politically active, but I have less energy now that I'm older and I'm not doing anything about the world situation. And so, just watching the news, I just don't have the kind of equanimity that, is needed to just be able to sit and take in all the horrors that are happening around the world. So I just don't watch the news. And that just sort of is helpful to me personally, avoiding that trigger for me. Next, number 3 is forgetting. So that can be things like, shameful memories, regret. And so you can use some self-talk, like it's over. Everybody makes mistakes. I learned my lesson. I can let this go. If you've had some traumas and maybe you have some trauma triggers that sort of trigger you a bit into a freeze situation, just tell yourself it's not happening now. And a really important thing is to orient. Like if we get trauma triggered, usually what you do is you go into freeze. So you want to break the freeze. So like look around the room, like move your neck. So that's breaking the freeze because you're moving, and look around and just notice this is not the place where you were traumatized. Like these are not the people that were around you when you were traumatized. Just see how things are different. It's a different time. It's a different place. Just to help your brain realize. And I had a very powerful experience. I mean, it sounds like something really simple. Just move your head and orient yourself to the present moment. But when I was doing my trauma training, I got triggered a couple of times because I had a lot of in my schooling, I had a lot of emotional abuse from teachers. And so we had a lovely teacher for the trauma training, but so it was nothing to do with her. It was to do with my past sort of emotional traumas. I got triggered by her a few times, and it was a perfect place to work on it because it was trauma training. And so I had worked through a couple of situations that were pretty impactful. And then we came to the final hour of our training, and we were sitting around in a sharing circle. And I had something to, so it was coming up to my turn to share. And then I can't remember what it was, but I got triggered again and went into freeze. And what happens when you go into freeze is you just go into your hindbrain, like the animal part of your brain, that's fight, flight, or freeze. And you get disconnected from the thinking part of your brain. And so what I was going to share, which I was totally aware of a moment before, was now like gone because I was in this sort of freeze mode. But because I just spent this whole, this was a 1 week retreat that was part of our training. We've been together for a whole week. So I've been immersed in this. So I knew instantly what had happened. Like I realized, oh, I'm in freeze. So I did what we were trained. I just moved my head, looked around the room, saw all the people, said, like I'd been with them a week. So we'd really bonded. So like looked around, realized all these people loved me. It was a very safe, comfortable place. And then I looked at the teacher. I think that was the trigger, but I'd already worked through some things with her, and she had said to me that she would never shame me. So I looked at her and I said that to myself. She said she'd never shame me. And just doing that simple thing, it's taken me about 5 minutes to talk about it, but in reality, it only took about 2 seconds, right, to just move my head like that. It was very quick. But I came out of the freeze, and then my thoughts of what I wanted to share were instantly there again because I'd come out of it. So it's a very powerful technique to just orient yourself, like move so you're not frozen, and just look at the present moment. And it was such a powerful experience for me to see that it only took 2 seconds to get out of that freeze because I knew what was going on. Okay, so that's forgetting. Number 4 is distracting. Now, what you're using to distract yourself from these obsessing thoughts should be something that produces calmness and ease, not something that increases your workload or increases worry or causes excitement. Distractions give you a pause from the thinking rut that you're in, allowing you to unwind and reset. Once you are settled, then you can return to your meditation object. So what can you do as a distraction? If you're alone, you could do some chanting, or if you're in a group, you could just do it in, silently in your head, reciting a chant. If you're off the cushion, you could do a compassionate act of service, which is very excellent if you have any kind of depression going on. That's very good. You could tidy out a cupboard, clean out a drawer, go out and do a sports activity. It's just a ton of different things that you could use to distract yourself. If you're on the meditation cushion, then you could distract your thought by switching to metta practice, or death meditation, or what's called the anusitis. These are the contemplations, contemplating the characteristics of the Buddha, contemplating Dhamma, the Sangha, contemplating your acts of generosity, contemplating your morality, your sila. And then something that I think we've talked about once in the group, but it's not talked about a lot, is contemplating the deities. So lots of different things you can do to distract your self. And then finally, if none of these are working, number 5 is take a break. Soak in the tub. Her example was sunbathe. Well, you can tell that she's from somewhere in the south. Go for a walk in the woods, just enjoying nature, looking at the scenery, the sounds of nature, or whatever. Just take a break. Now, strategy number 3, and this was my confusion for, until I read this chapter and sort of thought about it quite deeply. Strategy number 3 can seem very similar to strategy number 1, which is replacing. So what Shyla said was that in number 1, we're turning our attention to a different meditation object. So the emphasis is on the meditation object that you're going to. Whereas she said in strategy number 3, the emphasis is not on what you're turning to. The emphasis is on pulling away from this habitual sort of thinking process that's going on, withdrawing your attention from the triggers, if that's possible. And then what we turn our attention to is sort of like less important. And often it's not even a meditation, a standard meditation object, like soaking in the tub or for a walk in the woods. Now, Shyla ends the chapter on strategy 3 with an encouraging quote from the Buddha. Quote, "When the mind is not obsessed, tireless energy is aroused, unmuddled mindfulness is established. The body becomes tranquil and untroubled. The mind becomes still and focused on one thing." That's from Samyutta Nikaya 35, 134. Read it again. Okay. When the mind is not obsessed, tireless energy is aroused. Unmuddled mindfulness is established. The body becomes tranquil and untroubled. The mind becomes still and focused on one thing. Well, that's a reward for doing these strategies. Okay, so open this up for discussion, questions, comments, and it'd be lovely to hear examples that you've used of strategy number 3, because that's inspiring for the rest of us if you have examples of how you've effectively used this. Sure. Do you want to turn that on?
It's on.
It is on?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have an example of number 3. I have a question.
Okay.
When you're in the spiral of thinking, ruminating,
Mhm.
and you use one technique and it pulls you out partway, but
Mhm.
maybe not all the way.
Mhm.
Do you sort of go back to or try different methods? I envision it as a step-by-step process of getting to when it's good enough, because you're stepping out of this ruminating.
Right. Yeah, your goal is to come back and to be at ease and enjoying your meditation object. And so if, say, step 1 only partly, isn't allowing you to do that, then that's when you'd move to step 2. And then if that doesn't get you back into being with your object, then step 3.
I'm thinking of it sort of day to day living
Yeah.
too,
Uh-huh.
and sort of, do you give yourself rewards at these different steps? Because this ruminating may go on for days too. It's not just in meditation. Perhaps I'm not expressing myself very well,
Yeah.
but at what point do you say that's good enough? Because it's
Yeah.
tiring working through these processes. It takes energy.
Yeah, you really, yeah. I mean, I know what you're talking about, because before I learned how to meditate, I could spend weeks and months highly disturbed by something that had happened, and every time I bring it to mind, like feel like you've been kicked in the stomach or something like that. Yeah, and the good news is we don't have to suffer like that. I think these techniques are allow us to, you know, sometimes within moments or minutes, get out of that. Yes, it may come back, but I think the more we work with it, the more effective it is. Like, and I had, you know, it was astonishing to me, um, um, experience with this. Like when my husband died, I think it was on the third day, because the first 2 days I was just on the phone letting people know. And on the third day I had, you know, I got up and then I was busy. I had a house full of relatives and we were planning a celebration of life and everything. And then partway through the day, you know, I started getting a thought like, boo-hoo, I've lost my best friend. I've lost my hiking partner, my canoeing buddy, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I started doing this. And then it was like another voice in my head said, this isn't helpful. This is sort of like strategy number 2. So I didn't ask for this. It just like, I just got this other voice. Like I was started to do the boo-hoo, poor me thing. And then this sort of kind of another voice in my head said, this isn't helpful. And it stopped. Busy with the day planning. And then later on the day, it came up again, you know, boo-hoo, poor me. And then this voice, other voice, this isn't helpful. Strategy number 2. And then that was it, like gone forever. So to me, that was pretty astonishing, but that was after 18 years of practice, right? You know, so, but I mean, that was yeah. So we just keep, you know, bringing up the strategies, and it just gets, you know, these things start falling away. So you get the fruit of it. And yeah, you don't have to anymore, you know, do this thing of holding on to things for 3 months like we used to before we knew about this. Ronnie, just a minute.
This is a bit of
This
an
is
offshoot.
just a minute. This is the Zoom people can't hear. So if you could just, thank you.
So this is a bit of an offshoot, but then how did you mourn?
Yeah, that's
And-
probably,
I don't know if it's appropriate, but it just seems like, what do you do with that? It seems like such a natural thing at that moment.
yeah,
Time.
yeah.
If you don't want to answer that, don't.
Yeah, I'll just give a very, yeah, it's sort of off topic. I'll just give a very quick answer. So that, like, I think that's an unnecessary part of mourning, because it was just making, you know, making me feel really bad, right? So I did mourn for, I don't know, I can't even remember now how long it was, 6 months, a year. I'd get triggered every day with, you know, seeing couples holding hands or whatever, and I'd have some tears, but I did the holding technique. And then within 30 seconds or a minute, you know, so there was grieving that went on, you know, over a period of time. But because of everything I had learned in meditation, it wasn't like destroying me. You know, it was happening, but in a, yeah,
more
a much
tolerable way.
more tolerable way. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that in and of itself would be a meditation. I suppose. That
Mhm.
whole capturing yourself, but you're a therapist, right?
Mhm.
Is there a difference between that and ignoring your feelings? Or
Yeah. So again, I want to emphasize that this strategy number 3, the ignoring is a temporary, first of all, it can be a 100% strategy for things that are not helpful to be brought up. But for things that need to be attended to, like if you've got to number 3, like if number 1 hasn't worked and number 2 hasn't worked, and now you're trying number 3, your mind is in no state to be problem solving. So you're ignoring it for the time being to get yourself calmed down in a peaceful state so that when the time is appropriate to deal with it, you can deal with it appropriately. You're not going to be dealing with it appropriately when you're just that worked up. You really need to settle down. So in that situation, the ignoring is just a temporary maneuver.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to this. We do this relationally a lot, right? Like, I'm too upset, I need a break. But we know we have to deal with this. So it's even can be very helpful. Often one of the two or three of the parties actually needs to know, well, when will we be able to deal with it? Because I don't want to be left hanging, because this is quite charged. But I think that the Buddha is actually teaching us we can actually do that internally with ourselves. I don't think that we've ever thought that, oh wow, I'm too upset, I'm too worried. So this is really this isn't productive at all. This is actually exacerbating the problem. I'm under-resourced, I'm reactive. So like if I was having a conflict, I am having a conflict, I'm having a sort of a agitation, so I think the Buddha is instructing that attend to the agitation, attend to the upset, not the content. Like, now's not the time. And I think, Gay, you're making a really good point. And about, it takes energy. But I think that the Buddha is trying to help us understand that actually when we're in the hindrances, when we're in a lot of delusion, when we're in a lot of limited, narrow, that actually is more energy than the energy to get to somehow bounce ourselves out of that. And so there is this time in the practice where you need to acquire a taste for peace. You need to acquire a taste for calm. It's not exciting. It's not, and I think that if anyone's ever had the chance to listen to or read or practice with Venerable Analayo, he really emphasizes this, that to, as much as possible, for us to notice, see, it's almost like a neutral feeling, and those we're oblivious to really notice the absence of upset or the absence of craving, and start to really see how sweet that is. Oh, I'm just calm. And our culture is always all about bigger and better and more exciting and never before. And we have these movies now that are terrifying. They're just absolutely terrible, and roller coaster rides. And this is we're ending up mistakenly kind of at the Bryan Adams concert. And it was just it was so painful. There were strobe lights and then the volume, and it was but we think that's great. I mean, we're not at that extreme, but we're still pretty addicted to new, exciting, shiny. And so we're trying to cultivate in ourselves a real taste, a real appreciation of simple, quiet. And you start to realize, wow, non-craving is the most beautiful state. It's so much better than even the most delicious food or the most amazing conversation. It's even better. Just being so okay, everything exactly the way it is. You know, it's the beach, the beach holiday that Sacramento is doing.
And I want to just remind everybody in the basic teachings, I can't remember which lesson it was, but there's Thich Nhat Hanh's peace treaty. So Aya was mentioning, like, when you have conflict with another person, and there he really talks about how to deal with that, like to take a break, get settled down, but deal with it like within 24 hours, like don't keep the other person hanging forever. And at least within 24 hours, set a time when you're going to discuss it, and then have that time be within a few days or whatever. But that's I really encourage everybody who has not read that article to read the peace treaty, and you'll find it somewhere in the basic lessons. Okay.
For more mundane things like we discussed planning last week, and what if thoughts come in, like you're making a list kind of thing. Oh, don't forget to get an oil change,
Mhm.
and these things, like, it's like, oh, gosh, I never even thought of that. Where did that come from? And there's all sorts of little things, and you feel kind of almost compelled to, jot them down so that you don't forget.
Mhm.
And I guess the question is there a risk that you're going to forget these things? Like, obviously it's not important that very second,
Mhm.
and it would be nice to just drop everything.
Mhm.
But I guess I'm looking for the reassurance that, yeah, you can drop it right now. Don't worry, you'll remember it later on.
It's
Can you give me
such
that?
nonsense. It's such nonsense, because I don't remember. I've got those running lists. It's like, stop it. It's nonsense.
I think it's age related as well.
Oh,
Yeah, usually if things are important, they come back to us. Little red lights will come on in your car to remind you. Um, yeah, I mean, some teachers have recommended, like, before you sit down to meditate, maybe make a list of things that eventually, that are sort of rolling around in your head, like make that list before you sit down to meditate, whatever's been rolling around.
Well, I find,
Yeah.
During the workday,
Yeah.
if I'm meditating during the workday, that sometimes just that peace,
Hmm.
you're sitting, and then all of a sudden it's like a problem that you may have been
Hmm.
wrestling with comes up, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's a good way to address this word.
Hmm.
type
Yeah.
of thing, for example.
Well, see, that's a very nice learning that you just had. So maybe at the end of your sitting, you can say, okay, now when I got quiet, I was able to problem solve better, which is what we were talking about, why we want to do the ignoring to get settled down. So then after your meditation period in the middle of the day, then have another quiet sit and just say, okay, now this is for problem solving. Yeah, because you've just taught yourself that being quiet allows things to sort of sort out. It's kind of nice.
A question I love. It's like, isn't that part of the
Can-
ego that just, I
Ron-
think they can hear me.
Just let me check. Can you hear Ronnie?
No,
Yeah.
they can't.
So the question is, when that
Just a minute,
happens,
you have to put it right on your chin. touch it on your
Story.
chin.
So when that happens, is that part of
Touch.
your, is that
Thank
part of your ego? That just is just a distraction from that work? Is like, well, when that happens, I just think there's a part of me that just self-sabotages.
Mhm. Yeah. That'll have to be something that afterwards you can just think about that. Yeah. How important was this or
So
what's-
there's
what's
no,
under- what's
there's not a
underneath
real
there.
answer for that. Is that
Yeah,
what
you
you're
just have to go underneath of it and see. Yeah.
Well, as long as it's holding the microphone. I had a recent experience which kind of touches on or highlights this, what we're talking about today, and that my mind was going sort of increasingly disturbing, like there's a dialogue and a narrative that was just constant, and it was becoming quite distracting. And sometime yesterday, maybe, I think that I had just decided that I needed a break from this. And so I became very disciplined about focusing attention on the origin of the thoughts. And I would do it as much as I could throughout the day at every opportunity. I would just like a light, like a flashlight, focus it on the origin of thoughts. So you're just waiting for the next one to come. And when it does, you just say, okay, just cut it off. 2 words done. Next. And just wait. 2 more words done. And this went on for some time, and then it stopped. And then there was this absence of all that. And then I found actually I had more energy and I had more clarity.
Mhm.
But I had to keep the focus. I couldn't, I had to maintain that discipline of watching for those, the next thought. And then it became sort of more easier, came sort of habitual. And then I was out today on a ride biking, which I do quite often. And I almost felt as though my visual field had expanded and I could take in more. And even the sound, there were sounds that I started to pick up on. So the awareness, the things that were now coming into my awareness were more than before, when the mind was just flooding the consciousness with nonsense and just rumination like that. So yeah, I pretty much had that experience in the
Yeah.
last days.
That's beautiful. I'm just going to read what the Buddha said, which is what Mark experienced. When the mind is not obsessed, tireless energy is aroused, unmuddled mindfulness is established in the body, or established. The body becomes tranquil and untroubled. The mind becomes still and focused on one thing. So you're just saying exactly what the Buddha said would happen once you'd done this. So congratulations.
Yeah, I got all kinds of like cooking done today, which I never do. All of a sudden it's like, yeah, I can do that too. I can put that in. Yeah, just so much more capacity
Yeah.
when you're not cluttered.
Yeah, this is sort of, what you're experiencing is what a lot of people experience when they finish a meditation retreat. They come out and just colors are more vibrant and, just everything just is great. Okay, I see we're at time. So we're on, so we got a big group here, but that's we can just do this quickly. So on our 3rd week, we usually end with the Brahma Vihara of Mudita, which is sympathetic joy, being happy for the happiness of others. So we'll just quickly go around the live room and the Zoom room and just mention either a recent happiness in your life or a recent act of generosity or that you did. And then the practice for everybody listening is to feel happy for you. And if the near enemy of envy arises, you do your best to transform it into happiness for the other person. So I'll start with I and go through Bethany. And then when we finish the live room, then we'll go to the Zoom room. So my happiness is that Ahimsa and Anagarika Bethany have arrived and our monastery in Canmore is starting.
That's mine too.
Okay. Okay, just a minute, let me pin the room here so we can. There we go.
I just had the opportunity over Christmas to reestablish a relationship with a young niece that I have. And I had probably the most open, real, naked conversation with her in my life. And we've had 2 conversations on the phone since then. And what she has gifted me is that sense of being totally present. There's nothing else going on around you. You're just present. And I feel she even changed me in the last couple of weeks, you know, talking with other people and being present. So that was my gift that I got and made me very happy.
I just had an opportunity to retrieve a cat from the SPCA who's now at home.
I can't decide which one. On Saturday, I just had surgery like 2 Fridays ago, and Saturday, John organized a date day for us. So we did our meditation, silent meditation in the morning, and then we walked to the parks with my sling on, about 12 kilometers, and then we went to have vegan curry. And then in the evening, we did 3 more tarot meditations and some readings. So it was a really, really beautiful day after being in for 8 days.
My experience recently was with the warm weather, was hiking or walking Montaigne with Catherine since her surgery and just enjoying the sunshine and the beauty in the valley.
Do you want to try Ryan? Maybe you have to sneak forward a bit.
So I'd be the third wheel if I did that. My a real happiness was actually running into Aya and Bethany while I was walking Television Place. So that was like totally unexpected and really, really very nice. And yeah, hopefully run into you guys much more.
I had the pleasure of shared time with 2 friends. It was a really enriching conversation, which was very deep, and it made our friendships much richer. And so thankful for them and our time together.
Great. Carmen?
I'm very happy to be here, to stay with my sister for 3 weeks, and I appreciate this super time.
Great. Kristen, you'll pass? Okay, Ronnie?
I was with friends tonight and we laughed like crazy people, and it was really fun. Really, really fun.
And I'm happy that my sister's here and we're laughing a lot.
I had the opportunity yesterday and today to prepare a meal for 3 people, and it was somewhat challenging in the dietary constraints that I had to thread the needle, but I think that it turned out well and I hope they enjoy it.
He's talking about offering a meal to the monastery.
Recently taught my 6-year-old to downhill ski over a few sessions, and pretty awesome to see how quick he improved.
Mm.
And now we can actually go skiing.
Okay, we're gonna just a minute. Let me. Okay, Susan.
Hi, my joy was a few weeks ago, I have helped with, in Banff, daycares, and children are absolutely amazing. And these two boys came along and they were about on the street playing with yo-yos that they bought at Amazon. They found at Amazon with their yo-yos, and they were just said, I remember you, but of course they are now 7 years older than they were when I knew them. And yes, it was just a big thrill to see them on the street and they still remembered me.
Great.
That was joy, even though one had shoulder length hair. He was, yeah, great kids.
Lovely. Dustin.
I am just very, very happy to be sharing this moment with all of you. So thanks very much.
Great. Suzanne.
I'm happy that Sangamita's so happy.
You know how long it's been.
This is great. Yeah, that's right.
8 years and the 8 years of putting in conditions.
8 years
Yeah.
sitting on the egg.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's funny.
Kusala.
Just grateful to be in a warm climate with no agenda. Just doing what I want to do when I want to do it, just being in the moment to whatever arises. It's quite a freeing experience.
A happy retired person.
Yeah. Happy, warm, retired person.
Lisa.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear of Kusala's just having no agenda. But what I wanted to share was today, I have a dear friend who's moving from Canmore in less than 2 months. Going to really miss her. But today I had the opportunity to help her in preparing and getting lots of things done on her to-do list before the move. So it felt really great for both of us.
Great. And finally, Rich.
Yeah, so I recently received through my first passport as a Canadian citizen. So it was, yeah, it was nice to receive that and be at the end of that process.
Congratulations. May the merit of our practice be shared with all sentient beings, named and unnamed. Please, Blair, Tim, Agnes, Molly, Kelly. May all beings be well and happy. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. We have, and I sent out, we're having a Moon Day of Silence this coming Saturday. So drop in, come for whatever amount of time you'd like. And it's also available on Zoom.
I'm sure
Oh.
you can count.
And Rich, would you be able to hang on for a couple of minutes for another computer question? Thank you. Night, everyone.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the meal.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it.
I'm sure it's great.
I think it should be.
Okay, I'll just, woo,
Hi. Yeah,
are you still there? Yeah,
I'm here. Yeah.
here, I'll let Aya
You
speak.
know what? Why
I'll
don't
just,
I
Okay.
get up? Can you do it?
I can screen share.
Oh, you
Okay.
can screen share.
So,
Great.
so a couple of weeks ago on the calendar you set up for food sharing,
Yeah.
we went up to Edmonton, so I was able to remove those days. And what
Okay.
I and I both remember is that there were 3 dots, and when we pushed on that, we got that ability. This
Yeah.
time, those 3 dots are missing, and we pushed everything we could push, and we can't figure
Oh.
out. So can I quickly screen share
Yeah.
it? And
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can take a look.
okay, just a moment here.
Yeah.
I'll first of all pull it up.
I have to turn my screen as well. There we go.
Just let me make sure I don't disconnect us.
That's okay.
Oh, that's the sign up. Oh dear.
Good story about your 6-year-old.
Okay, I'll do the screen share now because I'm not even, it's asked me to sign up, which is I don't want.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
There must be, oh, here we go, my account.
Yeah.
Okay,
Starting there.
so here's the offering the meal. So
Yes. Yeah.
if I click on this, it's
Yeah.
got edit.
Yeah.
If I click on edit, it just does this.
It's cool.
Okay.
And if I can click on what event is this,
Hmm.
offering a meal, location, description.
And just remind me what you were looking for.
Okay, I'll bring up,
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, I'm trying to
I'll
picture
show
it.
you what I'm doing, what I want
Yeah.
to do. Cancel,
I think I know what you mean, but I just want to be sure.
yeah. It's, I think if I do this, if I click
Yeah.
on, oh, there it is. No, sorry, wrong
For the-
thing. It's
For the
the,
availability.
it's the view booking page.
Yeah.
So we have the retreat on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. I want to remove those because people
Yeah.
at the retreat are going to be bringing food.
Yeah. Okay. So from the my accounts page on Calendly that you were on before.
Just when I'm going to have to leave this room.
That's okay. Yeah.
Things. I think if they're signed, it's the right hand. You're right.
Whoops. Okay. That's
Okay.
better. Just too noisy out
that's
there.
a-
Everybody's talking to
that's okay.
Aya.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, so if you were to go to my Calendly, the account that you were on before,
Okay. So go backwards.
I think you might have it. Oh yeah, yes. So then let me just think. If you click on the settings, the little cog and the yeah, that's the one. Edit. Oh, I might be wrong actually. I think I might be wrong. Sorry, if you go back
It
and
worked
then
so
go to,
beautifully before.
yeah, scheduled events. I think
Oh,
it's
maybe I
think
didn't
it's
do
that
that.
tab.
Okay.
And then no, I'm not correct again. Yeah, it's easy when you've got it in front. Sorry, let's try again. Let's go back to event types that you're on before. The settings page. Yeah, the little cog with the wheel. Yeah, that's it.
This one.
Yeah. Edit. And then if you scroll down a little bit, let me think here. Okay, scroll up. Go to when can people book this event? And then scroll down. And then you can, if you go to where you have your mouse, if you go over to the right hand side and it says calendar view, just a little bit above, yeah, just see what that brings up. Okay, so then if you choose the date, I'm wondering if you're able to select, oh yes, so if you're able to click on one of those, I just want to see if anything happens or nothing. Oh, yes, so reset to weekly hours. You could try edit date. It might allow you to just, oh yeah, so if you go down, when are you available?
Now, see, all it was doing was allowing me
Ah.
to give specific hours.
Yeah, okay.
Or can I just push trash? Will that work?
You might be able to, yes. And then, yes, that's it. And then if you press apply, the button below, now I think, yeah, there you go. So it set it as unavailable. That's it.
Okay, so this.
Again, that's it, edit, and then just delete. That's it.
Where, oh, I lost my delete thing.
Yeah, maybe cancel.
Cancel.
Try again, just in case.
What did I do?
Just left click. And then try the same thing again.
Edit. Okay, it's in dark, so then I just push
That's it.
Trash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And apply.
And that's it.
And then the 29th.
29th.
Edit.
Yeah.
Trash. Apply.
And that should be, unless there's any other save type of button or apply button on that page, that should be it.
Save and close.
Save and, there we go. Yeah. So now when you try to go to the calendar, I think that should be, okay. Because it's pretty immediate, which is a good thing. It should say, yeah, there we go. So it just looks as though it's booked.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just go over this again.
Yeah.
So when we, so we start here and then what do we push?
Oh,
The
setting.
cog?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it. The little setting
Push
button.
the cog and then we put edit.
Edit. Yeah.
And then we did, when can people book?
When can people book? And
When
then
can people book?
yeah,
And then we asked for calendar view.
that's it. I think the calendar view is, for me at least, it's easier to see it visually. What, you can do it
Yeah.
another way, but I think that's probably a good way of doing it.
I can't remember. I don't remember it being this complicated last time, but at least
Yeah.
I think I might have to write myself. That's quite a few little steps there.
I think there might be another way as well.
Well,
You just booked them last time, didn't you?
Pardon me?
I think you booked them yourself, so to speak, last time.
Well, I did do that, but then I did figure out a way to actually I think you helped me. You were there and you helped me.
Yeah.
And it was something really simple, but what I remember is clicking on 3 dots, but nowhere are there 3 dots, like they were one on top of another.
I'll have a little look at it later, maybe tomorrow, just to see if there's another quicker way, because this is definitely a longer way and it's right in the settings. So I think there might be another easier way.
Yeah, but at least we did it.
Yeah.
We found a way. So
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem at all. That's fine. Yeah, as long as it's worked.
Okay,
All right.
rescued again.
That's fine. That's okay.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Bye.